Assalamu alaikum. Welcome and karibuni to Aroma of Zanzibar's kitchen. Today we are making this delicious smoked beef biryani, and I have got about 2 pounds of red onions. You could use white as well, and I've sliced them thin like this, as you can see, and I like to put them in a paper towel so that it absorbs the moisture, and that way when I fry the onions they're nice and crispy, and also they do not have so much grease. And if I have time and I have the good sun outside, I like to keep them out for about an hour or so, or keep them in the oven on 170 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then we're going to fry these on medium heat. You don't want to fry them on high heat until they're nice and golden like this, which so many times I have failed, but it does affect the flavor of your biryani. So we want them nice and golden. Gonna keep them in the paper towel. And for the rest of my ingredients, I have got garlic, ginger, some mint, some coriander, and tomato paste, raw papaya, green chilies, and plain yogurt. Now for the meat, I'm using beef today. I would have loved to have some bones, but I didn't get any, so that's 2 pounds as well. And I've used 2 tablespoons of biryani masala. I'm using homemade biryani masala, so it's not too strong. So if you're buying some, please make sure that you know the strength of the flavors, okay? You don't want it to be too strong. And then I added 1 cup of plain yogurt, and I've used this whole can of tomato paste. I think I had about 4 tablespoons. Then we're just going to mix it well to combine. Now the rule of the thumb is the onions and the meat is the same quantity. So I've used 2 pounds of each. I will write it in grams in the description box below. Now over here, that's the ginger, garlic, cilantro, and mint. Yeah, and the rice is going to be half the quantity if you're using basmati, because basmati does double in volume. So if you're using ordinary rice, then you may need to have it almost the same quantity as the meat and onion. So now I'm gonna grate the raw papaya. This is to tenderize the meat. If I make mutton or lamb, I do not use the raw papaya, okay? Because beef is a little bit tough, so it does need to be tenderized, okay? And then I have got some tomatoes here which have been blanched. I'm going to use the tomatoes because I need some liquid in my masala, my biryani masala or roast, because I do not want to add any water. Okay? If I was doing chicken, I probably would not do this because chicken retains a lot, releases a lot of liquid. So for the beef, I do need some liquid, so I am using the tomatoes. And then we are almost done. For the onions, I'm using 60% of my fried onions, and then we are going to cover this and keep it overnight. I think I kept it for about 16 hours because I started pretty early. And yeah, it's very simple, so that's our marinade. Okay? And once you're done with this, I really don't have much work. You know, the following day, it's just boiling the rice. That's it. Some green chilies for flavor and maybe 1 tablespoon of lime or lemon juice. All right? And salt to taste. Did I mention about salt? I like to use sea salt for my food. It's not too strong, okay? So cover it. So this is the following day. I started around 10 o'clock in the morning. And as you can see, this is my marinade. It's ready. And I've got my heat high. And I've added about 1/4 cup of the oil that I have used to fry the onions. So we're just going to mix it. And then once it starts cooking, not boiling. I'm not boiling this, am I? So anyway, once you see the bubbles like this, then I reduce the heat and cover it. Normally it would cook about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, but this meat cooked pretty fast because I used the tenderizer, which is the raw papaya. So this is the first half an hour when I started cooking. As you can see, it's a lot of liquid there. You want to taste. I needed to add some more salt. Cover it, and then I've got my potatoes frying, and now my roast is ready. Actually, this cooked exactly 1 hour 15 minutes, and it was very nice and tender. The meat was really, really well cooked. Okay, so then I'm just gonna add the potatoes. Now, if you don't want your roast to be dry like mine, you can always add more tomatoes. Okay. So now I'm going to start working with the rice, and I'm using about 4 cups of basmati rice. That's about 740 grams. It's unbranded rice. It's the first time I was using this rice, so I wasn't sure how it was going to behave. But the first thing is to wash it. Make sure you remove all the starch. So you're going to wash it maybe 2 times or 3 times until the water runs clear, because that's going to help your rice grains well separated and elongated, and that's the best part of the biryani. You don't want a mushy biryani. Now, I have learned this rule from the Persians. I think I have also shared this before, to add a lot of salt when soaking your rice. A lot of salt, but I'm not using a lot of salt. I'm just using some salt. This helps for your grains to be well separated and elongated. So since I've never worked with this rice, I am going to use this rule today. All right, and we're getting ready with the water, some salt. I've used about 3 cinnamon sticks. You can use more or less, or if you don't have to use any if you don't want to. Some bay leaf, star anise, and cardamoms. If you want peppercorns, fine. And then we are going to soak our saffron with rose water. I love to do rose water. It's totally optional, but it adds a little bit of richness in flavors and aromas in the biryani. Okay, so now we are going to rinse the salt that we have put in here. You don't want to have salty rice. Okay, but you can cook it with the salt actually, but don't put salt in the water. All right, so now we're going to cook the rice only 70%. Okay, you don't want to overcook your rice. I mean, you don't want to cook it completely because we're going to cook it further, and you don't want mushy biryani. That's not really appealing. So the rice is just about ready. It will be hard on the outside and soft in the inside, a little bit like that. And then we're just going to drain this. Now, for some reason, if you have overcooked your rice or you feel that it's overcooked, you can always run cold water immediately at this point. It will really help. It prevents the rice from cooking further. So now we're going to add the rest of the onions over here. This is mainly to prevent the rice from soaking, going down, getting mixed up with the sauce. My sauce is a little bit drier than I thought, so I couldn't get any grease. Normally I like to have the grease that I use for my color, because I do not use color in my biryani. I only use saffron. Okay, you can use color if you want to. So, and you can have it 2 layers or 3 layers, however you like, but I only like to do 2 layers today. Okay, so I've got the rice there, and we're gonna drizzle the saffron and rose water. And then some hot oil, about 2 teaspoons. Then some onions. And then we're gonna put the other layer of rice. Like I mentioned, you can do 3 layers if you want to. All right, now we are ready, and we are going to smoke this. Now, smoking is not part of this recipe, but I wanted to add something different. and also to elevate the flavors. Okay, so that's an instant coal. You can use any type of charcoal that you have, and maybe a quarter teaspoon of oil just to create the smoke. Cover it quickly and immediately, and we're gonna cook this in low flame for about 20 to 30 minutes. As you can see, now after 30 minutes, I think I cooked mine about 30 minutes, and our rice is ready. It smells amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So there we are. And you see the grains, the rice did not fail me. So I'm not sure if it's the salt that worked or the non-brand basmati was that good. Yeah, it was cheap. That's why I bought it. But sometimes cheap is not so good. Anyway, so now we are ready to serve. As you can see, it is nice, well separated. I was feeling really nervous because the kids were standing right there waiting for lunch. So I did not really, I don't know how to say it in English, but in Kiswahili we say kupakua very well. Okay? Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. You'll find all the measurements, all the ingredients and the measurements in the description box below. And I wish you a wonderful weekend. My potatoes were a little bit burnt, but it's all okay. Thank you. You all have a nice day. See my pot, it's nice and clean.